I am a chair of the 2018 Martin Luther King celebration. So we're really excited to have you all here. I'm also a member of Archer Memorial A.M.E Zion Church, where our pastor is Reverend Willie Campbell, and our First Lady is Reverend Frances Campbell. You can just stand and turn and get So you will hear from them later on with remarks. But what I'd like to do now is to ask our MC, Mr. Stan Simpson from Archer Memorial Design Church.
Good afternoon, folks.
Good afternoon.
Everyone can hear me okay in the back? Yes. Small room, it's cozy, right? Nice and crisp in here, it's crisp in this weather, so I wanted to thank you all for turning out. My name is Stan Simpson, I'm the MC for the event, and a proud member of the Archer congregation, led by the flock here, by our pastors who have done such a great job with us, the Campbells, as Pat introduced. And most of you know, this event always attracts a good crowd. It's sponsored by Archer, which is the oldest, first black church in Windsor, established in 1887. So it's sort of apropos that Archer becomes sort of the historic host each year of this event. Most of us know, 39 years old, that's how old Dr. King was when he died in 1968 in Memphis by an assassin's bullet. 39, most folks don't realize he never lived to see 40 years old. And just 4 years before, he had become the youngest person ever to win a Nobel Peace Prize at 35 years old. And he won that award because of his dedication, as you know, to civil rights, and for also using non-violent approaches in advocating for civil rights. So that is his legacy, a man with a tremendous vision, a man with a great dream, who asked one profound question: can't we simply judge people by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin? So that's why we're here today, to lift him up and to keep that legacy going. And that one day we continue to fulfill that destiny that he set out for us. We're going to have a very crisp program. We're going to hear some music, some profound words. We have a keynote speaker, Reverend Shelley Best, Reverend Dr. Shelley Best, who's the head of the Conference of Churches, also the lead pastor for Redeemers, and also a former classmate of mine at CCSU back in 1930. Going up to ranks. So looking forward to hearing her remarks. We're going to keep the program going. We're going to hear opening prayer from Father John Melnick from St. Damien of Malachi Parish, and then a statement of the occasion from Tristan Hagebuck, who is also a child of Archer, and then we'll continue on with our program.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come together this day to celebrate the life of a man who always preached the dignity of every human person. We gather today to continue that prayer. For Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. knew to the very core of his being that until we recognize that each and every person is made in the image and likeness of God, we fail to live out God's will here on earth. For each and every one of us is unique, is precious, is unrepeatable. Help us, Lord, to realize this. Help us to be leaders in our community as Dr. King was. Help us, Lord, to be instruments that help humanity shine, to promote a culture where all are valued, all have dignity, all are equal, all are loved. For all things are possible with God. All dreams can come true. And we ask this in God's name. Amen. Amen. Amen.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We are here today to celebrate the dream, life, and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We have come together once again as a community to honor Dr. King's principles of freedom, justice, and brotherhood on the day that would have marked Dr. King's 89th birthday. Our theme for today is the bridge to achieving the dream. Love for humanity unites us. As we share in this day today together, Let us reflect upon the many great works of Dr. King, a dynamic and awe-inspiring civil rights leader that through faith and love changed the nation.
Thank you, Father Melvin. Thank you, Tristan. We appreciate that very much. Now we're going to ask you all to stand as we sing. Lift every voice to sing, and the words are back to your program.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let every sound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat and not our weary feet, come to the place for which our fathers sighed. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light. Keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land.
All right, now we're going to hear some greetings from town officials. First, we'll start with Mayor Trinks, and then we'll hear from Leonard Lockhart, who's president of the Board of Education. So first, Donald Trinks, the mayor of Windsor. Long-standing mayor of Windsor.
before. I have a daughter that keeps me nice and humble. Voted for you again? Yeah. Don't worry, start checking YouTube for the whole video on election night. It's pretty entertaining. Senator, pleasure to see you, sir. I just wanted to, as I always do, welcome you to Town Hall. I'd like to remind everybody that this is your house. The citizens of Windsor, this is where the decisions on the local level are made. This is where your input is welcome, and ultimately where your vote decides how it's going to turn out. So I'm going to be quick because having done this for many years now, I know what's coming up in the program. So listening to me, how are you, sir? And the true boss. I know I'm not the one that everybody wants to hear. So, but I just want to again say thank you very much for coming out. Thank you for keeping this legacy. Thank you for the power that you have and that we've seen in action in the voting booth. So that's all for political statements today. There are a lot of friends here of the other party, but I want to make sure that we all know that we still have the power. And it sounds kind of naive, it's kind of 60s cliche, but the power really is in the people. And it's up to us to use that in the ways that we determine. So again, on behalf of the town of Windsor, welcome to the town hall. We look forward to all of you coming out to a council meeting, the first and the third Monday every month. We don't usually get crowds like this, but we'd love to see it. And one of these days, mark my words, we're going to get one of the choirs here on a council night. That's how we're going to start it. Thank you. All right. So, added bonus, not in your program. We have with us today Representative Scott Storms, who represents the town of Windsor in the 60th district, a little slice of Windsor, a little slice of heaven as he likes to call it. And we've got Senator McCrory as well. And I see our newest member of the legislature back there, Bobby Gibson. Congratulations, sir. Welcome. Scott, would you join me, sir? Scott has greetings from the state capitol for us.
Senator Representative, please come forward. We're going to have you give a speech. You weren't prepared for that. Always
under a half hour, please.
Oh, please join us.
4 more years.
I'm Scott. Congratulations. My wife Dale and I are very pleased to be joining you all this afternoon. I have the distinct privilege, and along with my colleagues, to bring you the greetings of the General Assembly and to offer you a proclamation from the Governor of the state of Connecticut. So if you will indulge my reading, it's the state of Connecticut by His Excellency Daniel P. Malloy, Governor, a proclamation. On August 28, 1963, at a march on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. proclaimed, "Even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." It was on Monday, January 20th, 1986, that Connecticut observed and celebrated the first federal holiday in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his message of equality. Dr. King was a man with unwavering devotion to the concepts of nonviolence, liberty, justice, and equality. He valiantly challenged the social injustices of racial segregation and discrimination. Dr. King set forth a vision that sought to bring into full realization the dreams of our American democracy. A dream of equality of opportunity, of privilege and property widely distributed, a dream of a land where men will not take necessities from the many to give luxuries to the few. A dream of a land where men do not argue that the color of a man's skin can determine the content of his character. The dream of a country where every man will respect the dignity and worth of all human personality and men will dare to live together as brothers. More than 50 years after his death, Dr. King's vision continues to provide a powerful symbol of life based on what he called a new revolution of values based on love, compassion, and justice. Dr. King often said, "There are those who write history, There are those who make history. There are those who experience history. Today, Connecticut will both be making and experiencing history through our celebration of Dr. King's life and the legacy of his timeless message. In honor of the commitments for which he gave his life, let this holiday be more than an anniversary. Let it be a celebration of freedom and equality for all. In accordance with the laws of the state of Connecticut, I hereby proclaim January 15th, 2018 as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Let his words ring again and again for everyone on earth. And so I'll present this proclamation to you, Mayor, on the behalf of the General Assembly, to the people of Windsor.
And I will accept it on behalf of the people of Windsor. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I first have to apologize. I feel like I'm underdressed. I'm literally just getting back in town from my daughter's gymnastics meet. So I truly believe family first, and my parties will always be in my home first. With that being said, on behalf of the Windsor Board of Education and those present with me, I see Ms. Nushette Blackburg, Ms. Fissel, I see Mr. Bosch, in the absence of the other board members as well as Dr. Cook. It's my humble honor and pleasure to stand before you as the President of the Board of Education. Dr. King was an instrumental man in the things that we have going on in our world today. And he was quoted by saying that our lives will begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. For myself and my other 8 board members, that matter is education. The key to anything you wish to do in life is through education. And some of the things that we're going through in our society today, education-wise, lack of funding, lack of support, placing our teachers in uncomfortable situations by not supporting them, and stuff of that matter, those days must cease. Because our children are our most precious resource. Without our children as a people, we perish. So anytime we think about education, it's not a Democratic issue, it's not a Republican issue, it's not an independent issue, it's a human issue. And until we get to that point, we're going to continue to keep spinning our wheels in the sand. So I leave you with this. Dr. King also stated, we must live together as brothers. And he continued to say that if we don't, we will perish together as fools. The Bible says that we must prepare for our children and our grandchildren. And we must leave this place a better place. So no matter what we are, who we are, when you stand before the Lord on Judgment Day, He's going to not care what color you wore, what group you associated with. He's going to want to know, what did you do for His people? That's what I leave with you this afternoon. What are you going to do for God's people? Thank you very much.
Important work from our part and all the others. Now we're going to recognize a few more dignitaries I know are out here. Town Manager Peter Souza is somewhere out here. Raise your hand. Appreciate that. And I'd like to ask all our city council people who are here today, or town council, to stand up, please. We ask that all the Board of Ed members who are here, including the superintendent or whoever is involved with the school board, stand up. All our clergy, the folks of faith, they would stand up also. Now we're going to hear a musical selection. Have you all heard of the McMahon family? Windsor's valuable assets. You're going to hear a selection now from the family.
Lord, take my hand, lead me on, help me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When my way grows drear, precious Lord, linger near. When my life is almost gone, hear my cry, hear my call, hold my hand, lest I fall. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, help me to keep standing. Oh Lord, I'm tired, I'm weak, and I am worn. But through the storm, through the night, we go to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, take me home.
When my way grows drear, precious Lord, linger near. When my life is almost gone, hear my cry, hear my call, hold my hand, lest I fall.
Take my hand, precious Lord, take me home. And hear my cry, hear my call, hold my hand, lest I fall. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. Jesus, hear my cry, hear my call, hold my hand, lest I fall. Take my hand, precious Lord.
Yes.
Praise, power, and prayer temple.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to hear from our youth. Time for the youth reflection. So hear from young people, our future. We're going to start off first with a young man named Alan Joseph Fitzpatrick. He's known as AJ. He's 10 years old, 5th grader at JFK in Windsor. He's involved in several community events and activities, including Windsor football, Windsor basketball, baseball, taekwondo, martial arts. Now listen to this. He's a black belt candidate. That means, I'm going to tell you how to do your thing here, but you better clap when he's done with his remarks. The bowling league, the boxing team. He enjoys video games, playing with his dog Leo, and vacationing. AJ, come on.
I have finished the course, I have kept the faith. Good afternoon. When I was asked to say a few words about Martin Luther King, I did not want to at first. One, I don't like speaking in front of people, and two, what could I say about a man who did so much in only a few words? So I will reflect on fighting the good fight. The definition of fight is to engage in battle, an attempt to defend oneself against enemy, to strive against or to strive for or against something. Dr. King said, if a man has not discovered something he will die for, he is not fit to live. The civil rights movement was something worth him fighting for and dying for. I enjoy martial arts and boxing. In my training, I taught focus, discipline, and coordination. I consider myself to be a good fighter, plus it's good exercise. In the world, there are some people who fight to cause harm to others, and some who fight to defend themselves. Dr. King fought for civil rights and justice for all people. He gave hope to the hopeless and tried to bridge people together at a time where differences separated them. Dr. King was also a good fighter, but he did not use his hands or weapons. Dr. King believed that nonviolent protest was the most effective weapon against racism and unjust in society. By being focused and disciplined, he was able to coordinate the most powerful and peaceful protest the world has ever known. Dr. King's legacy leaves us so many memories to learn from, so many lessons to learn from. But the biggest fight that I hope you all learn from is to always fight the good fight. Thank you.
AJ, great job. Breathe now, AJ. Go ahead and take a deep breath. Got over with. Great job. All right, now we're from Kayla Mooney. Kayla is 12 years old and a 7th grader at Sage Park Middle School in Windsor. She's a bit of a renaissance woman, folks. She's a gymnast for 7 years, ran track last year at school. She plays the viola and learning how to play the drums in the orchestra band. She's involved with a youth theater group. She loves to sing, dance, act, cook, bake, write. The whole package. Kayla, hold up here.
Hello, my name is Kalea Moody. I am 12 years old. Growing up, I knew Martin Luther King Jr. was very important. Martin Luther King has a very big impact on my family and on the country. Without him, I would not have met some of my teachers, best friends, and coaches. This gentleman changed how people treat one another. His speeches changed lives and moved people. We are all thankful that he came into this world and changed so much for the African American community. However, I have to wonder, would Martin Luther King Jr. be happy with what is happening today in the United States? I think Martin Luther King Jr. would be happy with the nonviolent protests for Black Lives Matter, but he would not be happy with the violence during some of those protests. He would not be happy with the violence, homelessness, drug crisis, and sex trafficking that is happening all over this country. Martin Luther King Jr. would be happy that the women in every industry, not just Hollywood, are standing up against sexual harassment, and some men are standing up with them. As far as being treated and considered equal, Martin Luther King said, "I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal. But as far for every man, woman, and child being treated as equals, this country, this state, and this town, we have some work to do." Yes, our schools in America desegregated. Yes, our schools in America are desegregated. But are the students all treated and taught equally? No. Not when most of the special ed population is full of minority students. No, we still have work to do, Dr. King. Yes, the town of Windsor has a very diverse population, but are all of its citizens treated equally? No. Not when a mural of our first African-American president is painted over on Election Day 2016. No, we still have work to do, Dr. King. But because of you, Martin Luther King Jr., we have people like Hispanic playwright and musical composer Lin-Manuel Miranda, who wrote about the author of that famous quote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal," from the play Hamilton. Because of Martin Luther King Jr., we have people like Louis Alexander of Connecticut, an engineer of Sikorsky Aircraft, and a math professor at Capital Community College. He was a church member and a friend of mine, and he was taught by one of his teachers to embrace physics and math. That teacher just happened to be one of the Little Rock 9 students. We have people like Serena Williams, tennis star and businesswoman, Simone Biles, who won 4 gold medals and a bronze for gymnastics in 2016, Gabby Douglas, who won 2 gold medals in the 2012 Olympics for gymnastics, Simone Manuel, who was the first black woman to win Olympic gold for swimming in 2016. Because of Martin Luther King Jr., we have Lisa Borders, president of the WNBA and former chairwoman of Coca-Cola. Because of Martin Luther King Jr., we have a multi-billionaire, owner of her own network, own magazine, talk show host, owner of a satellite radio station, a line of food products, a philanthropist, and much more, Oprah Winfrey. Because of Martin Luther King Jr., we are able to elect our first African-American president, former President Barack Obama. And because of President Obama and First Lady Michelle, I was able to dine at the White House for the Kids State Dinner. Thank you, Dr. King, for inspiring these people that inspire me.
Wow. Kayla, I had you on my show, didn't I? I was seeing you, I know him somewhere. Now, this thing says 12 years old, can't be right? That was 22, right? Is that a typo, 12 years old? We got state representatives, state senators, mayors. She's 12 years old, so that means about 10 years. Now, next up is a rising scholar athlete at Windsor High School. She's a freshman. Her name is Morgan Finley. She's 14 years old, varsity field hockey player and plays lacrosse, member of the Key Club, and also is in the Windsor Theater. She attends and is very involved with First Church. Here is Morgan Finley.
When you think of the name Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., what do you think of? Probably his I Have a Dream speech, or that he fought for the equality of African Americans during the Civil Rights Movement. It could be something else, but I don't know what you're all thinking. In the moment, who knows what was going through Martin Luther's mind? Looking back now, his message was so much more than equality. Martin Luther took a leap of faith when no one else was willing to. He never backed down, and no matter how hard things got, he believed things would change. If you believe in something, that's all it takes to make a change. Like we've all heard before, be a leader and not a follower. Be like Martin Luther King. Today, if you look around, everyone has goals and ambitions, but most people aren't willing to work for them. They say one thing and do the other. Dr. King rose to the challenge and never looked back. If you see something you don't like, stop it. If you lose something, find it. And if you want something, fight for it. Dr. King was a remarkable man who stopped at nothing until he achieved what he wanted, which was equality between all humans no matter their color. Today, 49 years, 9 months, and 12 days after Martin Luther King's death, we ask ourselves, has Martin Luther King's dream been accomplished? My answer is no. Unfortunately, some people in this world are still ignorant and think they are superior to others. Dr. King has expressed how he felt, and everyone has heard it. It's just a matter of time before some people realize that we are all equal and we all want what's right. It starts with you, and as long as you know what's right, we can only hope that others will realize that too. Maybe it will be tomorrow, maybe it will be next month, or maybe it will be 50 years from now. If you don't believe in the change, then the change will never happen. Here in this audience, I'd like to think there's at least someone that will find the Martin Luther King burning inside them and will have the courage to take a step forward and stand up for what is right, no matter the cost. Or will you look to your neighbor and wonder, do they have more courage than me?
Very powerful words, Morgan. Thank you to all our young people. Tremendous job with that. The youth have spoken. Now we have a special treat. We're going to have a theatrical presentation. I can't tell you who it is, just trust me on that. And then followed by that, we're going to have the introduction of our keynote address. We're going to have Cheryl Curtis from Windsor, who will introduce our keynote speaker. So first, a theatrical presentation.
I stand before you, saying me too. I stand before you, saying, time's up. I stand before you, screaming Black Lives Matter. I stand before you, screaming all lives matter. I stand before you saying, what happened to the dream? See, it doesn't make sense to me that today, in 2018, we have to be reminded of all these things. Because I remember that there was once a dream. So I stand today asking, where are the dream seekers? Where are the people who remember that on April 4th, 1968, at approximately 6 o'clock in the evening, when one was just approaching time to go have dinner, he said he just wanted to freshen up. He stood on the balcony of the Lorraine Hotel and looked out, probably contemplating what his next move was, probably thinking, what was he going to eat? And a shot rang out. A shot that was set to kill the dream. It pierced his jaw, struck his spinal cord, and killed him. It killed the man, but not the dream. See, I can stand here boldly right now in 2018, knowing full well that that dream lives in me. I wake up every morning to go out and do my work with the children that I work with. And I think to myself, they will live differently. They will live a better place. They will have peace in their hearts. They will understand that when they're playing at recess, they get to play with each other, no matter what color. I'm a dream seeker. I worry that there aren't enough people like me. I worry that there are too many people who are law seekers, too many people who are rule breakers, too many people who are fight killers, too many people who don't want to see the dream go forth. Not enough dream seekers in the world. So I challenge you to remember something. Just remember, if you can hold on to a little teeny tiny piece of the dream, whatever it is, happiness, the smile across a child's face, words that children speak from their heart that adults haven't even begun to embrace. Look for that. Become a dream seeker.
Thank you, Monique. I wasn't sure who would get to me this afternoon. The young people who I find so inspirational that also make me tear up, but Monique, you did. The Reverend Dr. Shelley D. Best is a nationally recognized leader in faith-based community development and pastor of Redeemer A.M.E. Zion Church in Plainville, Connecticut. Since taking the helm in the fall of 2017, she has led the effort to transform the century-old ministry through the meeting house model to practice hope, healing, and radical hospitality. For the last 17 years, she has served as the president and CEO of the Conference of Churches in Hartford and is widely credited for its revitalization through the creation of the 224 Ecospace, a $2.5 million social enterprise where change makers work, create, and lead. Through her leadership, the organization has launched a number of nationally recognized initiatives, bringing American Reinvestment Act dollars to Connecticut. As a frequent Saturday visitor to 224, I have observed much social and community activity there, including ballet for children, aerial yoga, and my personal favorite, Zumba. In 2016, Dr. Best was invited to the White House to present a white paper on her innovative model of ministry. Dr. Best is host of the WRCH 100.5 FM Sunday morning radio talk show, Rich Answers. She has served on the Hartford School Board and is currently an adjunct at Hartford Seminary. Reverend Best has a doctorate degree in ministry from Hartford Seminary, a master's degree from Hartford Seminary, as well as a master's in divinity from Yale University. A native of Norfolk, Connecticut, she earned a BA in communication from Central Connecticut State University. Dr. Best is a visual artist who travels internationally as a human rights and interfaith ambassador. With a passion for yoga found after the age of 50, she is a certified Hatha yoga instructor who devotes her practice to the mission of personal and community transformation. Dr. Best.
I tell you, without a doubt, this is a difficult time to stand here in this place after the brilliance of our young people. Let's give them another round of applause. And I see your faces and you're looking like, what is she saying? You don't know how brilliant you are yet, but I hope that you claim it now so that way you walk in that brilliance earlier in life. Yes. You know, life has a way of sometimes taking that light away from us as we try to blend in and be like other people. But I'm saying you all are extraordinary. Hold on to your light and walk with boldness and don't let anybody take that light from you. You are somebody. Yes. I just want you to know that. And to the parents, I want to celebrate the parents and mentors who have elevated these young people. It does make a difference. And as you journey in this life and you reach a certain place, you realize the baton must be passed. That's right. It's not about my generation. It's about making sure the baton is passed and we have young people who will carry on and carry forward the vision. That's what we truly do need. I believe one of the flaws in our community is that for too many of us who are the seasoned folks, we hold on to the baton too long. We can't run as fast. Our dexterity isn't what it used to be. We know something about the baton, but it's time to pass it on and help the next generation lead us to higher heights and deeper depths. So I just want to celebrate our young people at this time. I also want to recognize the pastor of Archer Church and the First Lady pastor of Archer Church as well. My friends, I give praise and honor to each one of you for your leadership. I also recognize a number of my church mother mentor friends from Archer from many years ago. I'm glad to see your faces in this place and many of my friends as well. I recognize the dignitaries of this community, the leadership of this community, knowing that you all are truly invested in making a better life and legacy for the people of this place. I also want to recognize my classmate, Stan Simpson. We were undergraduate together. And you know, it wasn't easy for us in those days. We were communication majors at Central Connecticut State University. And yes, woo-woo, Central! And in our experience there, we had some professors who were a little disgruntled. And one of my professors that Stan and I both had and struggled through told both of us that we weren't college material. But look at us now! Hey! So you never know what people might do to try to limit your light when you still need to press your way. Because sometimes people have other things going on in their lives. I also want to recognize the members of Redeemer's Church. I'm glad that you are here. Let's give a hand praise for my Redeemer's members. It is good to be here. As some of you may not know, I lived in Windsor from 1991 till 1995. And so this was a wonderful time in my spiritual formation. It's a time in my life where I was answering my call to ministry and growing to be a spiritual leader. So this is a sacred place for me because it helped me with my formation for ministry. There's something about this place called Windsor. And when I think about my time here in this place, there was something about Windsor where ahead of time, people in Windsor were talking about community building and strengthening and bringing people together and investing in the future by community conversations. There was some intentionality in this place called Windsor even back then. So it's significant that we are here right now in this place. And so with that in mind, because I am a yoga instructor now, and I know that I'm a minister as well, I'd like you all to indulge me just for a few moments, if you will. So please first, sit back in your chair in a comfortable seated position. Just sit back, put back the bags, the things on your lap, and just release some of the tension, because we're all living in very tense times right now. So sit back in that comfortable seated position and begin to acknowledge your own breath. Too many of us don't take the time to breathe. Inhaling, exhaling, and maybe taking the chance to just gently close your eyes and inhale, exhale. Deep breathing that reminds you of what it is to prepare for sleep and rest. And as you indulge me in this moment with your eyes gently closed, breathe in love and exhale strife. Breathe in joy and exhale tension. Breathe in compassion deeply and exhale prejudgment. Inhale love. Exhale love. Inhale love. Exhale love. For you each are vessels of love. Amen. Amen. You know, as we think about the times that we are living in right now, if we do not embrace this reality that we are called to be vessels of love, we will continue to live in a society with too much strife and hatred. We can't look to other people to be vessels of love when we are the ones that are called to be vessels of love and make a difference where we are. If not us, then who? If not us, then who? Who will be the love that needs to be in this world? Because we are manufacturing a lot of strife in our world right now. And if people of love do not stand up and be that love, we will continue to live a life that's overrun by strife and negativity. And you know, it's a dangerous thing because that strife and negativity is not actually the reality of our lives. Just because it's on Fox News or CNN does not mean it's the reality of most of our lives. Yes. Just because it's on TV does not mean that's our reality. And some of the negative and hateful things we are hearing right now, that's not the life most of us live. You know, we might have some ways about us. Maybe we're not as advanced or as politically correct as we need to be, but in reality, most people have come a mighty long way. I grew up in Norfolk, Connecticut in the early 60s, and I remember what life was like back then. My father was a civil rights activist, and he wanted us to put our lives on the line for the legacy of integration, that we might be the change everyone's talking about. And I'm here to tell you it wasn't easy to live in the 60s in Norfolk, Connecticut. Because Norfolk, Connecticut is one of those places that's hard for white people to live. But I learned something there. I learned that I could still make friends even though it might be a toxic and tough environment. Because I followed the words of Martin Luther King. He taught me even as a child that I wanted to be about this thing called love. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to be the light that would come into a room and fill the space with positivity. That's what I learned from Martin Luther King. What's powerful about this community called Windsor is that there is a mission to create an environment where dreams can come true for individuals, families, and businesses. That is the mission of Windsor, to be a place where dreams can come true. What a great community. That is the community intention, that dreams can come true in this place. And we recognize that we're living in times where there are people of different thoughts and twisted thoughts, and people that have not relieved themselves of a lot of old negativity, but that is not the world we live in. We have a grand opportunity to create a new future for the people of this nation. And so in my last few moments of presenting to you today, I want to leave a subject which is dismantling institutional cruelty with love. Dismantling institutional cruelty with love. We all can acknowledge now that time has gone by, and when we think about what we were taught in elementary school, if the truth be told, there were a lot of alternative facts. When we think about the history we were taught in elementary school, especially if you're of a certain age, we were taught alternative facts that were not actually true. Christopher Columbus did not discover America. We all know that, as even though we had the little song, you know, he's something or other in 1492. But if the truth be told, he never actually landed here. And so we say, and we have parades and we have holidays, alternative facts, where we say that Christopher Columbus discovered America, and it is not true. We all drank the Kool-Aid, we all signed in, and we pretend that that is indeed the truth, but it's not the truth, is it? No. So we were presented with alternative facts that we signed in on, and it programmed people's minds to have a sense of superiority. Christopher Columbus discovered America. No, he didn't. Now I know it makes you feel good about yourself, but in reality, he never got here. So when we think about our experience in the United States, we have been programmed with a lot of alternative facts which have shaped our imagining. Some of us think that we're better than we might be, and some of us think we're worse than we actually are. It's because we have been mismanaged in our minds. And so when it comes to dismantling institutional cruelty with love, we have to unpack some of the things that happened in this nation as we created this nation. When the Pilgrims landed on Plymouth Rock and started the colonies in this place, we recognized they moved into somebody else's house. They were not invited, but they just got on their boats and rolled on in and then took over somebody else's house. And then as a part of our programming, we get upset that the people whose houses they took over got upset. We have been programmed with alternative facts. And then fast forward a little bit, when we think about Jamestown, New York in 1620, 1622, we look around that time period, 1619, is when the first African slaves arrived in Jamestown, Virginia. Now, did those initial African folks think they were going on a cruise? Did they know where they were going? Did they give permission to sign up for slavery? And then when we think about it, for generations, people lived lives of slaves. Did anybody sign up for that? No. Was it nice? No. It was institutional cruelty. People were battered, people were beaten, people were disrespected, and that is the foundation of our nation. Institutional cruelty. And don't get me talking about the women, how we've been treated over the years, and some of the other groups of people that have been treated in disrespectful ways. And over time, we created institutions that supported this way of being, even as we see it reflected through public education. And so then along came Martin Luther King, a minister and an activist who dared to speak up and say what everybody else was really thinking, but it's just that people have a way of going along with the program. So here we are, people that are vessels of love in this place. You breathed in love. You exhaled the toxic things that you're holding on to. You breathed in that feeling of compassion and possibility, and you exhaled a lot of the strife. And so here we are gathered in this wonderful community called Windsor. Vessels of love. And we see what's going on. They say there's nothing new under the sun. This is sort of a rerun of some old stuff that we're observing right now in our nation. And you know what? Many of us in this place know it is wrong. Many of us in this place know it is mean. Many of us in this place believe that it might indeed be evil. So here we are, holding on to the words of Martin Luther King many years later on, recognizing that somehow we slid back into some really toxic stuff that we thought we had gotten rid of. And Martin Luther King said that our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. As vessels of love, there are things we are seeing in our society that matters, and this is not the time to bury your head, to turn away and say it's somebody else's problem. As vessels of love, when we find ourselves in the barber shop or the hairdresser shop and we hear people saying some things that are toxic to community, we need to be vessels of love that speak up instead of just keeping our mouths quiet, because it is about you. It's about all of us. And when someone insults someone else, they're insulting us because we are indeed one. So as we think about the legacy of Martin Luther King and we think about our call to dismantle institutional cruelty, wherever you work, wherever you vote, wherever you live, you are called to dismantle institutional cruelty with love. You can't destroy institutional cruelty with hate. You have to do it with some love and some dignity. In closing, remember these words of Martin Luther King. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Let us dismantle institutional cruelty.
Dr. Shelley Best, my college classmate from back in the day. Nice job. Very powerful words. How to be a vessel of love and dismantling institutional cruelty with love. Powerful message to lead with. And also the breathing part was kind of interesting. Yeah. What time we have here left? This whole yoga thing is kind of interesting. Dr. Best, you know I'm taking yoga.
Come on down.
Well, I just want to, I want to show you a little something real quick. I'm working on this thing right here. This thing right here. I digress. Very nice job, very powerful words, and I hope we can, we're in a time now we need to be vessels for cruelty, because cruelty is certainly out there. So now we're going to hear remarks, closing remarks from our pastors, Pastor Campbell and Campbell, William and Francis. We're going to hear an excerpt from one of our folks here at Archer, from Marcus Wilson, I See the Promised Land. We're going to see a video, You Inspire Me, and then we're going to prepare for some refreshments across the hall. So after everything is done, please join us for some fellowshipping. And now we'll hear from our pastors, Campbell and Campbell.
She wants me to go first and follow the kids. And Dr. Best. You a lady, you.
Well played. It's indeed a pleasure for me to be here. I think this is our third year. We have transitioned from New York. We live literally in New York, and God has appointed us to a great people at the Archer Memorial A.M.E. Zion Church in Windsor, Connecticut. We've had the opportunity to meet your mayor. I have not gotten to your office yet, so I'm going to come to the office and sit down. When I see these young people, it takes me back to when I was in elementary school, and to see that you're able to articulate the words and the definitions of what is going on in our country today makes me very proud of you. And as Dr. Best said, you're brilliant. Let no one take that away from you. As for my friend, the Reverend Dr. Shelley Best, I often tell her when I grow up I want to be like her. To Pat Gardner and your committee, once again, you've done a fine job. To the McMahon family, every time they come forth in song, you touch my heart. I almost thought I was at Archer. You know, we have an experience. We feel the Holy Spirit. We don't mind tears coming down. And the song of being an instrument of love was so appropriate. And we do thank you once again. I am pleased and it's my pleasure to sit and just hear this phenomenal family. As for my husband that's getting ready to say, will you shut up? That's what happens when you have two, well, he wouldn't say shut up, that's inappropriate. But he would say, okay, Fran, enough is enough. That's what happens when you have two preachers in the family. Again, it's my honor to be a part of the Windsor family. We still try to figure out how we can spend more time in the community when we live in Peekskill, New York. But to God be the glory. Every Sunday, every Saturday, Sunday, during the Wednesdays when we're up here, God allows us to drive an hour and like 30 minutes. And we've been doing it for 3 years, okay? And we have never had an accident. God has allowed us to just pass by accidents. We've come up here in ice storms. God allowed us to pass by. So we know that we have been appointed here for such a time. To the Archer family, as your First Lady, I love you with my whole heart. And may God continue to bless you and this community.
McMahon's as usual. That's all I'm gonna say. Dr. Best, as usual. That's all. Say Monique, as usual. That's all I'm saying. Now, when it comes to y'all, AJ said he didn't want to do it. But he focused and decided to accomplish the task.
Yes.
Kayla said that we need to refocus because we have not found the dream yet. We have work to do, she said. Morgan said, the dream has not come true yet. We have work to do. All of them, including Dr. Best, points to the fact that we need to refocus. And Dr. King, one of the things I read in one of his sermons, I read preacher's sermons, C.L. Franklin and the rest of them, ones that I admire and respect. He said, focus determines your reality. And what I believe these young people are trying to teach us today is that we have to go back to refocusing on the dream. You see, you can hear the dream, you can know the dream, you can watch TV, you can watch his big speech and everything and feel good and lottie-dottie, everybody's happy. But until you actually refocus on the dream and start doing something about the dream, all we're doing is having a gathering. And so I know I'm not the preacher of the moment, and you should have never gave me a mic, but I do want to draw our attention back to refocusing on what matters. Refocusing on the dream. Do what Dr. Best said. Get away from the negativity. You know, negative people always have a problem for every solution. You need to steer away from those that are negative. As a matter of fact, we got a saying in Archer. My Archer folk here, raise your hand, my Archer folk. My Archer folk know that I always say, if the people is negative around you, you need to change spots. Is that right? Yes. We don't need to be in negativity. We need to be positive with one another. Pat, I want to thank you for hosting as usual. Pat is one of the special people that we have. Everybody at Archer is special. So every time I say something about one of them, I say they're special. But they're all special, but this young lady works tirelessly. She is fully committed, and I'm praying that you get something out of this beside a gathering on a day off. Let's not just take this and say, oh, we had a great time up at the town hall. I got a chance to meet the mayor. I met a senator. Let's go from that to what am I going to do when I get back to work or get back to the school system or get back to church that's going to have everybody refocusing on the dream. My challenge to you, and Archer's challenge to you, if you come to see us, you'll see that we try to fulfill it. It's that everybody do something rather than just see something. Instead of just watching, instead of just enjoying the day, make up in your mind this year, you know what, I'm going to be different. This time I'm going to be different. I'm just going to not listen to TV, and when I get home, look at BET and look at all the different speeches. I'm going to make a difference. The difference starts with you. Thank you once again. Where's the mayor at? Thank you, Mayor. But man, you know, I'm supposed to have been over to your house for quite some time.
Just wait.
Door's always open.
We'll be there. You do a mean barbecue from out on that lawn there. Bless your heart. Please come and see us sometime. Give it up for the McMahons again. One of the things that I have it down here that I wanted to speak on when it came to that negativity, I talked with Dr. Best, and Dr. Best told me that when her and Brother Stan went to college, their communications professor said to them that they were not college material. That really hit my heart when she told me that. And I turn now and I look at Stan.
You know.
One of my trustees. And I look at Dr. Best. And that proves the fact of what I just said. You can't hang around with negative people. AJ's part of Archer.
Now, what does all this mean in this great period of history? It means that we have got to stay together. It means that we have got to stay together and maintain unity. You know, whenever Pharaoh wanted to prolong the period of slavery in Egypt, he had a favorite formula for doing it. What was it? He kept the slaves fighting amongst themselves. But whenever the slaves get together, something happens in Pharaoh's court, and he cannot hold the slaves in slavery. When the slaves get together, that's the beginning of getting out of slavery. Now, let us maintain unity. The question is not if I stop and help this man in need, what will happen to me? If I do not stop to help the sanitation workers, what will happen to them? That is the question. Let us rise up tonight with greater readiness. Let us stand with greater determination. And let us move on in these powerful days, these days of challenge, to make America what it ought to be. We have an opportunity to make America a better nation. And I want to thank God once more for allowing me to be here with you. Well, I don't know what will happen now.
Well,
we've got some difficult days ahead. But it doesn't matter to me now. Because I've been to the mountaintop. And I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I am not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over. And I've seen the promised land.
Yes, sir.
I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we, as a people, will get to the promised land. And I am happy tonight. I am not worried about anything. I am not fearing any man. My eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
My Lord.
freshmen over here. Thank you all for coming out. It's a great turnout. We appreciate all of you for coming here each and every year. Great spirit. I don't want to ruin it by talking too much, so just say let's fellowship and keep the spirit going. But thank you so much for coming out.
Welcome.